right, good morning, everybody. Algo Cowboy here, greeting Algo artisans. It is 6:31 a.m. and that's Mountain Time, so 8:31 a.m. EST, August the 22nd. And we have some data coming out today in the markets, so let's jump right into what that is going to be. I think it's the manufacturing data here. Yeah, manufacturing and services PMI coming out at 9:45 a.m. You know what? No, it's sooner than that. Let's fix the time here. Give me 1 second. Okay, Thursday the 22nd. Yeah. So at 9:45 a.m. EST, some data comes out for manufacturing and services. And basically, these are measures of the economy. And if that data is too far off the estimate, the markets might move. Now, we did have some craziness. There was a revision that came back and it really, really screwed up markets yesterday. Right after I got into a USD JPY trade, it tore up that trade for everybody. And basically, there was an estimate on jobs data, and that data came back revised, surprise revised. And it came back the worst revision in U.S. history, like the worst in 15 years, the second worst in history. Essentially learning that also that banks actually obtained crucial jobs data while the report was delayed. So amid the delay, right? So basically, let's back up a little bit. Let me see if I can find the article here on Zero Hedge, and then we'll take a look at what it did to markets. It even affected Bitcoin too. It was crazy. But basically, there was a jobs report that came out, and they had to revise it weeks later. And it turns out they actually had the data ahead of time. It was there. And I know Zero Hedge did an article on it, but if I can't find it right away, we'll skip past it and just go straight to the charts. But it was here it is right here. Let's zoom in a little bit. And they back in March, most of Wall Street economists still believed the lies spewed forth by the Biden Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is this I'm reading here from the Zero Hedge article, which intentionally uses inaccurate rush data, quote unquote, from the established survey, which is meant to pad sentiment and make the economy appear far stronger than it is for propaganda purposes. Okay, we got their definite bias, which I am not in disagreement with. It says, we did an in-depth analysis looking at the actual uncooked numbers published by the Philadelphia Fed Review of the annual quarterly census of employment wages, employment revision, and warned our readers the actual U.S. payrolls are overstated by at least 800,000 jobs, right? So basically, what they ended up doing was revising that data to what was closer to the real number. And now we're getting some information saying that the banks actually obtained this jobs data. Let me expand this. And while the report was delayed, which is, again, what we just looked at right there, Zero Hedge did the same thing. They got the data before the revision actually happened. So they knew and they warned us that this data was incorrect. So at least 3 banks called and just got the figures. And Wall Street was waiting on data to confirm the rate cut bets. So long story short, what this did was it made the economy look better than it really was. And there are many theories as to why you would do that, but we are in an election year, so they want to make things look better than they are, right? Oh, the economy's strong, this and then the other. Well, in this current environment, if the economy looks strong, then the chances of a rate cut are less. And so the market is going to take a hit for that. And if the economy comes out with data that looks weak, then the wisdom is, okay, we're going to see a rate cut come sooner and the markets will go up based on that data. So when we got this massive second biggest revision in history hit the market yesterday, everything got thrown into a tizzy because things started acting differently than they normally would have. So for example, we'll take a look at USD JPY, which is the trade that I was in and I took right on this show. And we got just in the middle of the day, a major scam wick. And the trade that I had was a decent trade. You can see it right there on the screen. The actual, it's still here, from the trade that I took live on the show. And it went nicely into profit, as you can see. But before it did, you can see it right here. Let me delete one of these to make it easier to see. You can see it right here, this wick right there. So price was going in the direction it was supposed to go, and it ended up going in that direction beautifully, right? But it wicked up, knocked everybody out of their trades, and then came back down. And that's part of the reason I think they do things like this, so they can just, wick everybody out of their trades. They can save it for when they need it, and everybody was going short, and they went ahead and threw that revision out there. This is an uncommon thing for this to happen. This is not something that happens very often. But I was in a trade that ended up going about 2 and 3 to 1, depending on which of the entries I did, because I did 2 entries. I did a second shallower entry for everybody at Algo Factory. So I was ahead very nicely. And unfortunately, this BS data got revealed, and we ended up taking the hit on that. So that's just the kind of the news. And I might do a bit more coverage on that later today. I might not. This might just be the extent of that coverage, and we'll just go ahead and dig into the charts. So if you're watching right now, go ahead and throw out a request. We can take a look at the charts. We can see what might be happening. I'm going to jump into Bitcoin. And remember, 9:45, the data comes out. That's 9:45 EST. So that's in like an hour and 10 minutes. So when that data comes out, it might be that we see the data get shaken up quite a bit here. We might see, even Bitcoin, everything. If the estimate is way different than the quote unquote real data, we're going to call it the unrevised data from here on out, because it seems that they just love to put out data and then revise it a few weeks later. But it's, in my opinion, it's a complete grift. They do it on purpose. Whether it's to make money or to make things look better or a little bit of both, I don't know. It's just, you can't trust anything anymore that's coming from official sources. I hate to say it. It is what it is. Cool Cat, good to have you on. Thanks for coming in and doing a shout out here. So Bitcoin is rejecting at about 61,500. It did make a nice run up, and you can see I already had this resistance up here before this rejection happened. So it went right up to this prior rejection area, this rectangle that you see that I drew up there, and it poked right up to it yesterday at about 3:30 p.m. EST, and then it made its way back down to the bottom of the high time frame rectangle, which we're not, it's hard to see in this zoomed in chart, but 60,000 is basically a support right now for Bitcoin, maybe 60,100. And it went back down there, grabbed that, pumped back up, and now it's sitting around 60,800. And I'm going to tell you right now, Bitcoin it's just kind of ranging right now, and it's coiling up for something. Yeah, SG, absolutely, they're cooking the numbers, and they always have. It's just a question of what they're doing with the numbers, how badly they're cooking them, and what kind of advantage they're taking of the average trader. I think there's some. I'm going to just go ahead and call that a scam wick. That was meant to create a stop run situation, and they waited to throw that out there until a lot of people had certain positions on. Golden Khan, Bitcoin Bitcoin's going to do what it's going to do. I don't think a rate cut's going to affect it the same way it's going to affect everything else, like stocks and stuff. But yeah, if there's a rate cut, usually right after a rate cut, the markets fall a little bit. They don't go up right away. They tend to fall. And I think the best theory for that, coming from a good buddy of mine and just wisdom, is that there's just a lagging effect of the interest rate. When you start hiking rates, it takes time for that to take effect, and then it takes time for that effect to play out. So by the time they start cutting rates, the hiking is actually, what is still having its effect. So it kind of falls for a while until the rate cutting takes effect, and then that's a lag. That's a lagging effect there. We got Diane in the house. Good man. Thanks everybody for coming in and saying hello. I appreciate that. It's always good to have a lively chat. Makes me look popular. And Via the Guerilla should be on any moment. I know we are going to do Markets Mayhem over on the Rogue channel today, so be ready for that as well. And then right now, though, Bitcoin itself, it's got some bullishness behind it on the daily, right? So there is some pretty good bullishness in the algos right now on the daily. The higher time frame is still pretty flat, but we're at a point now, and I've been talking about this, where the volatility is low and the higher time frame does have some issues. But because volatility is low, there's always that chance that this panic down from the USD JPY, that Japanese yen, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, that panic is probably that probably was the low. But if it wasn't the low, I think there's a decent chance we see Bitcoin drop to 44,000. Otherwise, if Bitcoin can stay above 60,000, and it can do so for, I'm just going to throw a number out there, if it can do it for like 2 more weeks and even go back up to test those highs again, I'm going to guess, in fact, to be real precise about it, if Bitcoin can break above, and this is the real numbers that I'm using, right? let's move this out of the way. If Bitcoin can break above 70,150, this high that's right here, right? You see how price went up? It came up, made this high, came back down. So if price can break above that high right there, stay above there for like a week or two, then I am of a very high probability that it's ready to go ahead and break its all-time highs. Now, we do have to be careful because September tends to be the worst month for Bitcoin. If you look at the data, we talked about this a couple of days ago. Let me see if I can just throw the data up there really quick. Give me a moment. I've got it right here. So here's the data, and I can't really zoom in any deeper on that. So that's the best we can get. But yeah, see, if you look at September, it's red. And on the balance of probabilities, it tends to be the most red month there is. There's a couple months that have it beat out. March and February tend to be really bad. But September is a pretty bad month consistently. October tends to be a good month. They call it Uptober. So I would say that we have to be careful with September. Now, there are some green Septembers. There are 3 Septembers that were actually green. So it's not like it's guaranteed to go down, but we do have to be pretty careful with that. So, yeah. So I don't know, Golden Con, what you're asking me. The rogue team is fine. Just nothing's happened to it. Summertime's really slow for markets. So, there's a lot of stuff we're just kind of dealing with. And also when it comes to rogue, we're going to shift a little more towards financial, like not advice, we don't give advice, but we're trying to get people to where they can be self-sufficient for what's coming, help them maybe even, offshore themselves, offshore their money, leave certain countries that might be oppressive, things like that. So we're going to shift more towards that rather than the news. We're going to stick with the news. We're going to continue to do what Rogue's been doing this whole time, but we're going to start moving more towards solutions like back when it was Rogue Money. Daniel, thanks for coming in and saying hello. So yeah, with this, I think we'll go ahead and move over to the private live lab. Understand that I do think Bitcoin is going to range here for a bit, right? What's going to happen next is what I'm kind of looking at. And it's ranging. And until it stops ranging, then it's going to be tough to know which way it's going to go. So that range that I just drew, let me delete that. This rectangle that I just drew, that's the range right now. And so shorting the tops and longing the bottoms, I think is actually a pretty good plan right now. I'm not giving you advice. I'm just saying that's what it is. And, so shorting the tops and longing the bottoms is what I would probably do. I would just continue to do that until it breaks. And if it breaks up, unless it's a fake out breakout, then it's probably going to head up. If it breaks down, then it's probably going to head down. And again, I have a low point of $44. So what I am going to do is I'm going to, yeah, Golden, I'm not sure you're asking, but if you want to keep the questions about charts, please. Thank you. I'll answer those. I'll answer chart questions. That's what we're here to do. Okay, let's do this. We're going to take a look at the liquidity really quick for Bitcoin, just to take a look at where it's all built up. And there's a lot of liquidity sitting at 55. There's a ton sitting at 60,000. So a lot of people have gone long. So I would say there's a really good chance the price rolls back down to about 59,500. You can see this big hunk of green liquidity. So 59,500 is basically the bottom of this range. So I'd say there's a really good probability right now that Bitcoin's going to take a quick trip down, right? It might not. You never know. Like it could just continue up. But for the meantime, that's the most likely thing to happen just because it keeps rejecting at that high level. I can tell you that the daily is bullish. So price does want to go up, but the volatility is super low. So that's going to be subject to resistances. And we got V the Guerilla in the house. How are you, sir?
Hello, man. How are you?
Doing good. Just running through the charts, talking about the government statistics. We got Biden's administration.
Oh, you don't like
data, the second
the
biggest revision
bureau?
in history.
You don't like the Bureau of Lies and Statistics?
Well, they murdered our JPY trade, which would have been nicely in profit by now, but it knocked us, me anyway. I don't know who else, took their own JPY trade, but yeah, they ruined my trade. It was terrible. It's like I didn't know what it was, and you get this massive wick out of nowhere. I'm like, there's no announcements coming out, and they happened to throw out what they did was they took a very obvious like JPY short. It was a perfect, great setup that I'm sure a lot of people took, and they took advantage of that, and they went ahead and threw the data out there when it could be a stop run. But here, get this. I know I showed everybody this, but since you're here, I gotta show you this. Check this out. Hold on a sec. And it's in the Zero Hedge article as well. They actually explained it in depth. But look at this. Banks obtained crucial jobs data while report was delayed. So the banks just went and made a phone call and got the real data.
Right.
Like, I mean, the data's out there. This is not fucking rocket science, people. It's numbers. Like, this isn't rocket science. This is statistics. Right. My degree is in calculus-based statistics, regression models. Like, this, I can tell you right now, it doesn't take a genius to do this shit. Like, I'm not a genius, despite what some people might think. I can do this. I don't understand why. And I can tell you why they don't do it right. It's because it's a grift. Everything's a grift with these people.
Everything is a grift in government. When it comes to dealing with government, this is why it's like we've peaked. You know why we peaked? People are like, oh, so many things are coming. No, it's not so many things are coming out. It's like so many things can't be done anymore because the grift is run its course. You know?
Yep. So
that's the whole entire thing.
Yeah, you just got to be on the right side of the grift, and generally we are. But that was a curveball, and I think it was meant for a curveball. But we are way over right now on the public live lab. So we're going to look at Solana, but we're going to do it over at the private live lab where people are actually paying to get this kind of data. So if you want to look at the Solana chart, go ahead, go to algofactory.tech, zap the QR code top right-hand side of the screen, or go to algofactory.tech, join us, and you can be with us for an hour every single weekday, aside from like federal holidays and stuff, that we'll do all the charts you want. You know, we actually have it to where like we run out of charts to do because people ask for so many, and I just chart. So yeah, we do gold too over at algofactory.tech. Namaste, Lisa. We had a lot of people coming in and commenting today. V, sir, can you get us out of here?
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for listening. Join us, be a part of the most prolific community in trading. Learn what's going on, learn what the markets are doing, learn what's happening behind the scenes. Algofactory.tech.
Join us